The massive observation vessel of the Galactic Council hung silently in space, its crystalline structure reflecting the distant light of Earth's sun. Inside, 12 different alien species gathered around a circular display, their eyes fixed on the approaching human shuttle. "They're coming in exactly as scheduled," said High Observer Rex, his blue-scaled skin shifting colors with anxiety. "These humans are surprisingly punctual for a species that only achieved faster-than-light travel last year." The human shuttle, a simple white craft with Earth diplomatic coordinates painted on its side, looked tiny and primitive compared to the Council's vessel, but appearances could be deceiving, as the Council had learned during their century of secret observation. Commander Tom stood at the shuttle's controls, his military training evident in his straight posture and calm demeanor. Next to him, Dr. Anna worked through her tablet's data, reviewing everything they knew about the Alien Council. The rest of the 5-person crew checked their equipment one final time. "Remember," Tom said to his team, "we're here to show them that humans can be trusted, that we're ready to join the galactic community." What he didn't say was how much Earth's future depended on this meeting. The docking procedure went smoothly, surprising the alien observers who had expected the primitive human technology to struggle with their advanced systems. As the airlock cycled, the Council members straightened their various appendages and prepared to meet their first humans. The doors slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Tom led his team into the chamber, maintaining a diplomatic smile despite his amazement at the alien architecture. The room seemed to be made of living crystal, with lights pulsing through its walls like blood through veins. High Observer Rex stepped forward, his translator device humming. "Welcome, representatives of Earth. We are the Galactic Council, overseers of peace and progress in this sector of space." What happened next would set the tone for all human-alien relations to follow. Dr. Anna, looking around the room with scientific curiosity, accidentally bumped into a floating tray of alien refreshments. Instead of stumbling, she smoothly grabbed the tray's edge, spun it to maintain its balance, and used its momentum to redirect it back to its original position. The aliens watched this simple act with growing concern. "Fascinating," whispered one of the Council members, a tall being made of what looked like living metal. She instantly calculated the weapon potential of that serving tray. "Did you see how she assessed its weight, spin capacity, and potential as a projectile?" "I wasn't," Dr. Anna began, but stopped when she realized what had happened. She had simply reacted as any human would, but to the aliens, it looked like a combat assessment. The Council members began murmuring among themselves. Their centuries of observation had shown them this pattern repeatedly. Humans had an uncanny ability to instantly evaluate the offensive and defensive capabilities of any object they encountered. It was so ingrained that they did it unconsciously. Tom recognized the growing tension. "Honorable Council members," he said, "I assure you that Dr. Anna meant no harm. We humans have a natural tendency to be aware of our surroundings." High Observer Rex raised a calming appendage. "We understand, Commander. In fact, this is precisely why we have invited you here. Your species has a unique trait that both fascinates and concerns us." The crystal walls dimmed, and holographic images appeared around them. They showed human history, a caveman turning a stick into a spear, a medieval farmer's scythe becoming a war weapon, modern household items being repurposed for defense. "In all our observations of Earth," Rex continued, "we've noticed that humans can instantly transform nearly any object into a tool of warfare. It's an ability no other known species possesses to such a degree." Tom's team exchanged glances. What the aliens saw as unusual was, to them, simply human nature. "We've called you here," Rex said, "because we need to understand if this trait makes humanity a threat to galactic peace, or potentially its greatest defender." The chamber fell silent as both humans and aliens considered the weight of this moment. Earth's future in the galactic community would depend on what happened next, and everyone present knew it. Tom stepped forward, ready to begin humanity's greatest diplomatic challenge yet. The testing chamber gleamed with white light, its walls lined with what appeared to be harmless everyday objects from across the galaxy. Captain Lisa stood in the center, her blue uniform stark against the sterile room. Behind the observation glass, the council members watched intently. "Begin assessment phase 1," announced High Observer Rex through the speakers. "Captain, please explore the room and interact with the items naturally." Lisa moved carefully through the space, her military training making her automatically note exits, cover positions, and potential tools. She didn't know it, but every slight pause of her eyes, every small movement of her hands was being carefully recorded and analyzed. The first item she picked up was something that looked like a pen. "This is a Meridian writing tool," Rex explained. "Please examine it and tell us its purpose." Lisa turned it over in her hands. "Well, it's obviously for writing." But she paused, realizing she was about to point out how the metal casing could be removed to create a sharp implement, or how the ink reservoir could be pressurized into a spray. She bit her tongue. But it was too late. The observers had already noted her split-second tactical assessment. "Fascinating," whispered one of the council members, their crystalline form shimmering. She identified 3 weapon configurations in less than 5 seconds. They moved through more items: a food processor from the Centauri worlds, a child's toy from the spiral arm colonies, a medical scanning device. With each object, Lisa couldn't help but see beyond its intended purpose. It was simply how her human mind worked. Then the test changed. Red lights flashed, and a simulated emergency began. The chamber filled with harmless but obscuring smoke, and mechanical drones emerged from hidden panels. "Assessment Phase 2, Rex announced. "Please protect yourself using only the items in this room. The drones are programmed to tag, not harm." Lisa's training kicked in instantly. She grabbed the food processor, quickly removing its power cell and crushing it against the floor. The resulting electrical discharge disabled the nearest drone. The child's toy, with its strong spring mechanism, became a launcher for small objects. The medical scanner's focusing lens helped her spot drones through the smoke. The council members watched in stunned silence as she transformed their carefully selected harmless objects into an impressive defensive system. Within minutes, all drones were disabled, and Lisa stood in the center of the room, slightly embarrassed by her display of human ingenuity. "This is exactly what concerns us," Rex said to his fellow council members. "They don't just adapt tools into weapons. They do it instinctively, instantly, and with remarkable effectiveness." Commander Tom, watching from a separate observation room with Dr. Anna, felt pride mixed with concern. "We're not trying to be threatening," he said to the air. "This is just how we think." The final phase began without warning. The room's temperature dropped rapidly, and the lights went out. A voice announced, "Survival scenario initiated. Duration unknown. Limited resources available." Lisa's response amazed even her fellow humans. She turned the disabled drones into a heat generator, used the remaining toys and processors to create a basic motion detection system, and fashioned the medical equipment into a makeshift communication device. After an hour, Rex called an end to the testing. As Lisa exited the chamber, she found herself facing the divided council. Half looked impressed, while the others seemed deeply worried. "Your species," Rex announced, "has demonstrated exactly what our observations suggested. You can transform anything into a survival tool or weapon. You do this faster, more efficiently, and more creatively than any species we've encountered." He paused, his scales shifting colors rapidly. "The question we must now answer is, does this make humanity too dangerous to join the galactic community, or exactly what the galaxy needs?" Lisa looked at Tom and Anna, then back at the council. "With respect," she said, "maybe you're looking at this wrong. We don't see everything as a potential weapon. We see everything as a potential tool for survival. Sometimes survival requires defense, but more often it requires creation and adaptation." The council chambers fell silent as they considered her words. The next phase of human evaluation would determine not just Earth's future, but perhaps the future of the entire galaxy. The emergency alarms blared through the Council's crystalline ship, their usual soft blue pulse now a harsh red. High Observer Rex's scales had turned a pale white, a sign of extreme distress among his kind. "Multiple Raptor warships detected," announced the ship's eye. "They have appeared simultaneously in Council space and Earth's solar system." Commander Tom and Captain Lisa rushed to the main observation deck, where holographic displays showed the unfolding disaster. The Raptors, a species that looked like a terrifying mix of Earth's ancient dinosaurs and modern technology, had launched a coordinated attack that nobody had seen coming. "Impossible," Rex whispered. "Their ships shouldn't be able to move that fast or appear so suddenly." His hands moved across the control panels, bringing up more data. "They've somehow modified their drives beyond anything we've seen before." The displays showed the Raptors' massive black ships, their surfaces covered in what looked like shifting metal scales, approaching both Earth and several Council worlds. The Council's defense fleet, with their sleek and advanced ships, moved to intercept. "Our weapons aren't working," one of the crystal-formed Council members reported, their voice crackling with static. "The Raptors have developed some kind of adaptive shielding. It learns from each attack and becomes stronger." Tom watched as the Council's most powerful ships fired their advanced energy weapons. The first shot hit a Raptor ship, causing minimal damage. The second shot was completely absorbed. By the third shot, the Raptor ships were actually growing stronger from the attacks. "In all our history," Rex said, his voice shaking, "we've never faced an enemy we couldn't overcome with our superior technology. But they've turned our own advances against us. Each weapon we've created over thousands of years is now useless." Dr. Anna, who had been quietly analyzing the data, suddenly spoke up. "They're using your consistency against you," she said. "Your weapons are perfect, precise, and predictable. That's why their shields can adapt so quickly." The situation grew worse by the minute. Reports came in from across the galaxy. Council worlds falling under attack, their defenses useless against the Raptors' adaptive technology. Earth's military forces were preparing for battle, but their conventional weapons seemed primitive compared to what was attacking them. A Raptor ship appeared close to the Council vessel, its massive form blocking out the stars. A transmission came through, the translator struggling to convert the harsh, guttural language. "Your time is over," the Raptor commander growled. "Your predictable, structured approach to warfare has made you weak. We have studied you for centuries, learning how to counter every weapon you possess. Surrender now." Tom looked at the Council members, seeing the fear in their various alien forms. These beings had relied on their advanced technology for so long that they have forgotten how to adapt, how to think beyond their established patterns. "You're right," Tom said to Rex. "Your weapons might be useless now, but maybe that's exactly why you need us." "What do you mean?" Rex asked, his scales showing a mix of confusion and hope. "You've spent thousands of years perfecting specific weapons for specific purposes," Tom explained. "But humans, we can turn anything into a weapon. The Raptors might be able to adapt to your standard weapons, but how can they adapt to weapons that keep changing, that aren't supposed to be weapons at all?" Understanding dawned in Rex's eyes. "Your assessment tests," he said, "the way your captain turned simple tools into defensive weapons." "Exactly," Lisa added. "The Raptors have studied your weapons and developed perfect defenses. But they've never faced humans. They've never faced a species that can turn a simple food processor into an EMP device or a medical scanner into a weapon." The Council members looked at each other, their earlier fear of humanity's weapon-making ability now transformed into hope. They had just discovered why the universe might desperately need humanity's unique talent for improvisation. "Tell us," Rex said, his scales now showing the deep blue of determination, "how do we fight an enemy who can counter all our weapons?" Tom smiled grimly. "First, we stop thinking about weapons at all. Instead, let us show you how humans fight when all we have are ordinary things around us. The war was about to change in ways the Raptors could never have predicted. Admiral Jack stood in Earth's main defense control room, watching as civilian ships transformed into battle vessels right before his eyes. Engineers and mechanics worked frantically, turning ordinary equipment into weapons that the Raptors had never seen before. "Sir, mining laser array ready on the Jupiter stations," reported a young technician. They had modified the mining equipment that usually broke down asteroids. Now it could fire irregular pulses that confused the Raptors' adaptive shields. "Transport ships in position near Mars," another officer called out. The massive cargo vessels, usually used for moving supplies between colonies, now carried makeshift weapons made from repurposed terraforming equipment. The Admiral smiled as he watched the screens. Where the Council saw primitive technology, humans saw endless possibilities. Every civilian ship, every piece of equipment, every simple tool was becoming part of Earth's defense. "Look at this," Dr. Anna said, pointing to her screen aboard the Council ship. She showed them how Earth's entertainment satellites, designed for broadcasting shows and music, were now jamming Raptor communications with random patterns of data that their systems couldn't adapt to. Commander Tom explained to the amazed Council members. "You see, the Raptors expect military weapons. They expect things designed to cause damage. But how can they defend against a mining laser that changes its energy pattern randomly? How can their shields adapt to a terraforming gas being used in ways its inventors never imagined?" On Earth, civilian factories had stopped their normal production. Instead, they were creating unusual devices that combined everyday technology in ways that made the Council scientists scratch their heads in confusion. "That's not how any of this equipment is supposed to work," one crystal-formed Council member said, watching the humans work. "Exactly," Lisa replied. "That's why it's going to work against the Raptors." The first test of human innovation came when a Raptor ship approached Mars. It expected to face standard weapons, lasers, missiles, energy beams. Instead, it met a cloud of reprogrammed cleaning nanobots that usually kept the Mars domes dust-free. The tiny robots swarmed the ship's hull, creating random, ever-changing patterns of damage that the adaptive shields couldn't predict or stop. "Incredible," Rex whispered, his scales turning bright yellow with excitement. "The Raptor's shields are trying to adapt, but they can't predict what the nanobots will do next, because even the nanobots don't know what they'll do next." More successes followed. A group of space tourism ships, their entertainment systems modified to broadcast conflicting gravity fields, made a Raptor ship lose control of its navigation. Mining drones, their simple rock-cutting tools now programmed with random attack patterns, confused and overwhelmed the Raptors' defensive systems. "We're getting reports from Council worlds," Anna announced. "They're beginning to copy our approach. The Centaur worlds are using their atmosphere processors in ways we never imagined. The spiral arm colonies are turning their agricultural equipment into defense systems." Admiral Jack's voice came through the communication system. "This is what humans do best. We don't just adapt, we reimagine. We don't just survive, we completely change the rules of the game." The Council watched in amazement as ordinary humans, engineers, mechanics, teachers, and workers, came up with ideas that their best military minds had never considered. Every failed attempt taught them something new, and every success showed them another possibility. "Now you understand," Tom said to Rex, watching as another Raptor ship retreated from a swarm of modified maintenance robots. "Humans don't just turn things into weapons. We turn imagination into reality. We see possibilities where others see limitations." The Raptors, for the first time, faced an enemy whose attacks they couldn't predict. Every human innovation was different from the last. Every makeshift weapon worked in ways that defied military logic. Their adaptive shields, designed to learn and counter standard attacks, were useless against weapons that were never meant to be weapons at all. The tide of war was turning, not through advanced technology, but through humanity's unique gift for turning anything and everything into tools of survival. The Council's main meeting chamber had changed dramatically. Where once there were only neat rows of alien delegates, Now humans stood at various stations, teaching council species how to think differently about everyday objects. Engineer Mark stood before a group of crystal-formed beings, holding up a simple food replicator. "Don't think about what it's made to do," he explained. "Think about what it could do. The power source, the matter converter, the programming. They can all be used in ways the raptors would never expect." High Observer Rex watched with growing enthusiasm as his people began to understand. His scales shifted to a bright orange of excitement as he saw council members starting to think like humans. "Watch this," a young council engineer said, her crystalline form glowing with pride. She had modified a simple cleaning drone to emit random energy patterns. "The raptors can't adapt to it because it doesn't follow any logical pattern." "Exactly," Mark beamed. "Now you're thinking like a human." Around the chamber, similar scenes played out. Captain Lisa worked with a group of metal-bodied aliens, showing them how to turn their atmospheric processors into defensive systems. Dr. Anna collaborated with organic-formed beings, helping them understand how their biological technology could be reimagined for protection. "Report from Earth Defense Command," Commander Tom announced to the chamber. "The raptors have withdrawn from 3 more sectors. Their adaptive shields can't handle the random, improvised attacks." The news brought cheers from both humans and aliens, but the celebration was brief. There was still much work to do. "The key," Tom explained to the gathered council races, "is to stop thinking about proper military responses. The raptors understand those. They can counter them. What they can't counter is the unexpected, the improvised, the things that shouldn't work but somehow do." A holographic display showed their progress. Green dots represented freed systems, while red showed areas still under raptor control. The green was spreading, but the red still dominated much of the galaxy. "We're learning so much from you humans," Rex said, watching a group of his people successfully modify an entertainment system into a shield disruptor. "For thousands of years, we thought advancement meant making things more perfect, more specialized. We never considered that this might become our weakness." Mark nodded. "That's the difference between humans and most other species we've met. You perfect things for specific purposes. We look at everything and think, how else could this work?" The training continued day and night. Humans taught council races how to think creatively, how to see beyond an object's intended purpose. More importantly, they taught them how to be unpredictable. The raptors' greatest strength, Lisa explained to her class, is their ability to adapt to patterns. So we give them no patterns to adapt to. Every attack should be different. Every defense should be unexpected. The results were showing across the galaxy. Council worlds that had fallen to the raptors were fighting back in ways the enemy couldn't predict. A farming world used its harvest machines as mobile defense platforms. A mining colony turned its deep drilling equipment into weapons that attacked from unexpected angles. Message from the Centauri sector, an aide announced. They've successfully driven back a raptor fleet using modified weather control systems. The raptors couldn't adapt to the random energy storms. Tom and Rex stood together, watching the latest battle reports. "Your people learn quickly," Tom said. "We had good teachers," Rex replied, his scales showing the deep blue of gratitude. "Humanity showed us that what we saw as primitive thinking was actually a kind of wisdom. The ability to see beyond the obvious, to imagine new possibilities. These are gifts we have forgotten in our rush to perfect everything." The chamber hummed with activity as more council races arrived for training. Each success against the raptors brought new hope, new ideas, and new ways of thinking about the ordinary things around them. The alliance between humans and the council was becoming more than just a military partnership. It was becoming a meeting of minds, a sharing of perspectives that made both sides stronger. And somewhere in the galaxy, the raptors were learning a hard lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a weapon at all. It's the ability to turn anything into one. The combined fleet of human and council ships gathered at the edge of raptor space. But these weren't normal military vessels anymore. Every ship had been modified in ways that would have seemed crazy just a few weeks ago. Admiral Jack stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, now transformed with a mix of human creativity and alien technology. Around him, screens showed hundreds of vessels, each modified differently so the Raptors couldn't predict what any of them would do. "All ships report ready," Captain Lisa announced. "The Council fleet has completed their modifications according to our suggestions." The Admiral nodded, looking at the strange fleet before him. Cargo ships now carried reprogrammed maintenance nanites. Passenger vessels had been turned into electronic warfare platforms. Even the Council's most advanced warships had been modified to work in completely unpredictable ways. "Remember," Commander Tom's voice came through the communication system, "no two ships should attack the same way twice. Keep changing your patterns. Keep surprising them." The first wave of Raptor ships appeared exactly as expected, massive black vessels covered in adaptive armor. Their commanders probably felt confident, thinking they knew all of the Council's weapons and how to counter them. They were wrong. The first attack came from what looked like a simple garbage collection vessel. It released a cloud of processed space debris, each piece randomly programmed to emit different energy signatures. The Raptor shields, trying to adapt to thousands of small, unpredictable threats, began to overload. "It's working," Dr. Anna shouted from her station. "Their shields can't decide what to defend against because every piece of debris acts differently." More ships moved in. A converted mining vessel fired its drills in spiral patterns, each beam pulsing at random frequencies. A passenger liner used its artificial gravity systems to create chaotic gravity waves that the Raptors couldn't predict or counter. High Observer Rex watched from the Council command ship, his scales shimmering with excitement. The Raptors are falling back. They'd never seen attacks like this before. The Raptor ships tried to adjust, tried to find patterns they could adapt to. But there were no patterns. Every human-modified ship attacked differently. Every Council vessel used its technology in ways that defied standard military logic. A group of Earth's ships demonstrated what humans called controlled chaos. They had turned their communication arrays into weapons, broadcasting random frequencies that confused Raptor targeting systems. Their life support systems now generated unpredictable energy fields that disrupted Raptor shield harmonics. "They're trying to retreat and regroup," Lisa reported, watching the enemy fleet's movements. "But they don't know what to regroup against. They can't plan for attacks they can't predict." The Council's scientists, now thinking more like humans, had created devices that randomly combined different technologies. One ship would fire a beam that started as an energy weapon, shifted to a gravity pulse, then changed into something else entirely. Even the Raptor's most powerful ships couldn't handle this new way of fighting. Their adaptive shields, designed to learn and counter specific weapons, were useless against attacks that kept changing their very nature. "Message from the lead Raptor vessel," an officer announced. They're asking for terms of surrender." The bridge fell silent. Nobody had expected victory to come so quickly. The Raptors, who had seemed unstoppable just weeks ago, had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by humanity's gift for unpredictable innovation. Admiral Jack looked at his display, watching as more Raptor ships powered down their weapons. "Tell them we accept their surrender," he ordered. "And remind our fleet, no celebrating yet. Keep those modifications running until every Raptor ship is secured." Commander Tom turned to Rex, who was watching the surrender in amazement. "This is why the galaxy needed humanity," Tom said quietly. "Not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we see possibilities where others see limitations." Rex's scales turned a deep blue of understanding. "You taught us that the best weapon isn't the most powerful one," he replied. "It's the one your enemy never expects, even if it started as something that wasn't a weapon at all." The counterattack had succeeded, and with it, humanity had proven its worth to the galaxy not through power, but through creativity and adaptability. 1 month after the Raptors' surrender, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different from before. Humans now sat among the various alien species as equals, and the once formal atmosphere had given way to lively discussions about new possibilities. Commander Tom stood at the central platform, presenting the final report on the war. Behind him, holographic displays showed how ordinary objects had been transformed into the tools that won the conflict. Each example brought nods of understanding from the council members who had once feared humanity's creative nature. The Raptors made one crucial mistake, Tom explained. They studied our weapons but forgot to study our minds. They learned our technology but missed our creativity. High Observer Rex, his scales now permanently tinted with the blue-green of wisdom, stood up to address the chamber. When we first discovered humans, we saw them as primitive because they could turn anything into a weapon. Now we understand. This wasn't primitive thinking. It was the most advanced thinking of all. The chamber's displays shifted to show scenes from across the galaxy. Council worlds were changing, influenced by human ideas. Schools now taught creative problem-solving alongside traditional subjects. Engineers were learning to look beyond an object's intended purpose. Dr. Anna stepped forward, pointing to the latest data. The Raptor's technology was actually more advanced than ours in many ways, she said. But they failed because they couldn't imagine things being used differently than designed. They couldn't adapt to the unexpected. Captain Lisa, now heading the new Combined Innovation Force, shared the next set of findings. We've learned from each other, she said. Humans have gained access to advanced technology, while council races have learned to think beyond traditional limits. The chamber's mood was positive but serious. Everyone understood that the galaxy had changed forever. The old way of perfect, predictable advancement had given way to something new, a combination of high technology and creative thinking. The Raptors have asked to learn from us, Admiral Jack announced, causing a stir in the chamber. They want to understand how we think, how we see possibilities where others see fixed purposes. Rex moved to stand beside Tom, a gesture that would have seemed impossible months ago. We propose, he said, that humanity be appointed as the Council's chief innovation advisors, not just for military matters, but for all aspects of galactic development. The vote was unanimous. The Council races had seen firsthand how human creativity, combined with their advanced technology, could solve problems they had thought impossible to overcome. Engineer Mark, who had taught so many aliens to think differently, smiled as he watched the proceedings. On his desk sat a simple alien food processor, the same type that had first shown the Council humanity's gift for adaptation. Now it stood as a symbol of how ordinary things could become extraordinary tools when seen through creative eyes. But remember, Tom said to the chamber, our gift isn't about turning things into weapons. It's about seeing the full potential in everything around us. Sometimes that means defense, but more often it means finding new ways to build, to heal, to explore, and to grow. The council members nodded in agreement. They had learned that humanity's primitive trait was actually the key to true advancement. The ability to see beyond the obvious, to imagine new possibilities, and to adapt to any challenge. As the session ended, Rex approached Tom privately. When we first met, he said, we worried that humans would be a danger to the galaxy. Now we know the truth. You were exactly what the galaxy needed. Tom looked out at the stars through the chamber's crystal walls. Somewhere out there, human creativity and alien technology were combining in new ways, creating possibilities that neither species could have imagined alone. The funny thing is, Tom replied, we never set out to turn things into weapons. We just wanted to survive, to solve problems, to make things better. That's the real human gift. Not seeing weapons in everything, but seeing potential in anything. The galaxy had changed, and with it, the definition of advancement itself. The future would belong not to those with the most powerful weapons or the most advanced technology, but to those who could imagine the most possibilities in the ordinary things around them.